Hey, so I wanted to make a quick video here for some people that are going to need to hear this today. And this is not a one and done, hear this once and then you remember it forever, unfortunately, at least not for me. But I think this is one of the bigger sources of resistance for me personally in my life. It's this thing that I kind of lapse into and then get sort of slapped out of, thankfully, every now and then. And that is the idea that whatever it is you're dealing with right now is just you. Like, it's a personal failing on your part. And you're the only person that's ever gone through this. Like, it can be really hard to lose sight of the fact that there are certain human themes that play themselves out over and over again. And there's really like nothing new under the sun, and everything that we're going through has been gone through millions of times by millions of other people. The email that I got yesterday, I'll link to the video. The email that I got yesterday reminded me of this. I was already thinking about this because of something I'd read in a book the night before. And that kind of came together perfectly to sort of illustrate it even further. You know why? Because this shit ain't real. But in the email that I did the video about, it was kind of like this, theme that we see play out in relationships all the time. This theme of, I've been hurt, I'm in a bad place, somebody shows up and wants to be with me, and, push back, other person persists and shows me that true love is really possible and that I really am worth that. That's like, we've all heard that story a million times. It's just one of those themes that play out. And whatever it is that you're going through in your life right now, it's just one of those. It's one of these human themes that play out. And it can be difficult to see that. But for me personally, whenever I've seen that it's not just me, like this isn't just me dealing with this, it's not a personal flaw or failing on my part, I'm just in one of the human themes right now, that has taken such a tremendous amount of, the only way I would describe it is resistance. It's like, if I had to define resistance in terms of feelings, at least for me, at least in one way, it would be, I don't deserve this. That's like the biggest feeling of resistance that I can think of. I don't deserve this, or I can't handle this, or something like that. Just don't, can't, won't, whatever. That is a huge source of resistance. And for me personally, anytime I'm really struggling with something, there's almost always some element of that present. And so, like, for example, I think I've mentioned this on this channel already this year, but my dad died at the end of 2021, and all the way up until a couple of months ago, I was, at first, I was just kind of going what I thought was the normal after effects. But then even like as recently as the beginning of this year, so almost 2 years later, I was like waking up and reliving his death scene, like the night that he died. I would just, like, my mind would just go there anytime it could. Sometimes I would wake up thinking about it. It was really troubling. It almost felt like an intrusive thing. And I was just like, man, what is wrong with me? Why does this keep happening? Why do I keep thinking about this? Why do I keep doing this? That was how I was sort of looking at it subtly. I was just, and I was just at the point where I was like, God, do I have to talk to a therapist about this? Because this is abnormal. When I decided to do a Google search about it and ended up somewhere on a forum where there were several people who had described watching their parents die in exactly the same way, because the way my dad died was just from lungs filling with fluid, and, that eventually kills you. And so it's, as somebody watching that with a parent, it leaves you with a lot of questions, I think. You know, I kept wondering, was he suffering? You know, I kept wondering, was this like a horrendous, horrific death, or was he like out of it enough from the morphine and stuff like that? You know, I just couldn't deal with it. But when I read that, like, on this particular thread on this forum, when I read somebody else had posted my exact problem, they're like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Why do I keep thinking about this? And when other people, you know, chimed in and said I had the same experience, I was just like, oh my God, I'm just going through something normal. Like, I'm just going through an experience that lots of other people have gone through. That was such a tremendous relief for me. And because I think because I stopped judging the fact that it was happening so much, it stopped happening. Like, I'm just now starting to have memories of my dad from when he wasn't, you know, dying. For the longest time, anytime I thought of him, I would think of that. But just that act of understanding that it wasn't just me, you know? Oh my God. And I was talking here recently on a video how I had, you know, this last month I did this high flying disc experiment where I just prioritized above everything else staying in that, in that state, whatever, you know, as high of a possible state as I could be in. I don't know how to really put it. Somebody asked me what that means, and I'm not sure I can really explain it. I'll try though. I'll try on another video. I want to make a video about that. But I had one really bad night, and it was when I started looking at wedding dresses. And I found a perfect dress, which I subsequently then bought, just to spoil that story. But at the time I was looking at this dress and I was just like, I got to lose 30 pounds to get into that dress. And out of nowhere, I just started berating myself for having gained that weight during, you know, after my dad died. It just came out of nowhere and was just like relentless. And for the whole last week, there's just been kind of a shadow over everything since then. I mean, I the next day I had an interesting experience that I think was meant to sort of pop me out of it, but I've been kind of like, you know, just kind of in this lower place and couldn't really get out of it, regardless of everything that I tried, including all the fucking shit from Busting Loose. So don't leave me that comment, please. You know, when I say I couldn't do it, I mean I couldn't do it. I mean I tried everything. I couldn't get out of this place. And it wasn't until the other night I was playing poker, and playing poker is really, if you're, you know, if you kind of like play poker the right way, it's pretty boring because you fold almost every hand. But so I was like, well, I'm going to read a book while I'm playing poker. And I don't want to read a book that I have to actually concentrate on. And I was like, I'm just going to read like a fiction book. So Matt's mom had a copy of this book, The Alchemist, which you may have heard of. And I thought I had read it a long time ago, but I don't think I had. I grabbed it off the shelf. I read the entire thing in one sitting. And right away in the beginning of the book, which is fiction, you know, the protagonist he builds up this good situation for himself, decides to chase a dream, decides to go for something different. I'm describing this theme in my own life right now. Decides to go for something different, to pursue his personal destiny, essentially. And in doing so, one of the first things that happens is he loses everything. Stupidly, he feels. And is really down about it. And I didn't even have to read any further than that. And I just thought, oh my God, dude, I'm just going through this human theme that is played out in some way in almost everyone's life. It's been played out millions, billions of times throughout forever. I built it up and then I appear to lose it all. And I have been in this mentality of not being able to just rise above that for so long. Like, I've been trying, but I keep coming back and blaming myself. I keep coming back and saying, why did you do this? Like, it's a personal failing on my part. And this perspective shift that it's a human theme that plays out over and over again, that this isn't me, it's human. That was the thing that changed that whole week for me. That was the perspective shift that flipped the whole thing on its head. And I just thought, oh my God, I got sucked into the drama again. And I'm not going to beat myself up for that either, because getting sucked into the human drama is sort of part of the whole thing, I think, until you become enlightened or something, whatever the equivalent is. But so I wanted to bring that up because I think a lot of people are going through this. A lot of people are going through this. Even people who don't necessarily see it as beating themselves up. I'm guessing something in there rings true for somebody. I also had this, I had an experience with this also that just came to mind. When I first got into the Myers-Briggs personality typing stuff back in the day, I don't know, probably 15 years ago. When I was first reading about that and I first typed myself through some test or whatever, and then started investigating my Myers-Briggs type, which is ENFP, it was through reading all of the characteristics that belong with this personality type that I had sort of a pretty deep and profound cathartic realization about a whole bunch of things about myself that I had been doing the same thing about. I realized, a lot of these things that I consider to be negative are just the weaknesses of this personality type. It's not me. It's not me. It's just the human type that is like me. It's just my wiring's tendencies. It's not necessarily my flaw. And the beautiful thing about that, the beautiful thing about releasing this like blame or holding yourself in this fixed place, unintentionally a lot of the time, is that it frees you to change it. If I typed myself today, just by taking one of those tests or whatever, I'm guessing my personality type would come back quite different because of all of the things I've done to strengthen the weaknesses that come with just sort of my original packaging, or wherever it was that I ended up when I was 30 or whenever I took that test. I realized, okay, this is just something that is sort of a natural byproduct of this mix of traits, and it's not something that is some kind of flaw, and therefore I can look at it objectively and unemotionally and start to change this when the things come up that bring out these weaknesses. If you look at the ENFP personality type, many of the weaknesses are things that I could have applied to myself 15 years ago that are certainly no longer the case. So anyway, I just wanted to make that video because, this whole topic of this channel and this community is positive change, really. It's changing things in your life for the better, getting things that you want, for the most part. And this is one of those things that stands in the way of that, for sure. So I really hope that there's got to be somebody out there who needed to hear this exact thing today. So that's it. Have a great day.